Hey guys, Lord here, back again with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Raw 10, which last I checked was a Walmart exclusive line. Oh jeez. Wave 2 Terradon. This is a green variant of good old Terradon, brought to us by the fine folks over at McFarlane Toys, as well as my good buddy Tee Bizz. Shout out to Tee Bizz. It's been a while since I said that, right? Of course, we often did trades in the past, not so much anymore because, you know, inflation, I guess. That, or we just buy our own stuff and we don't really need to hook each other up as often as we used to, especially if you go over to Tee Bizz's channel. Holy Kawasaki Ninjas Batman. But I will leave a link in the description below to his channel where you can see him slowly but surely put himself into debt by getting stuff way earlier than me. So, jokes aside, he's a brother from another mother, and I wouldn't have it any other way, though I do worry about the man sometimes. I have to be honest. This is a channel where honesty is the best policy. That said, he sent me this awesome piece of plastic here, and we're going to talk about it because this is quite possibly one of the coolest looking paints in the rear I've ever had on this channel. Maybe not ever had on this channel, but you know what I mean. It's a really cool looking wyvern, we're gonna say. I wouldn't call it a dragon because I think dragons have 4 legs whereas wyverns have 2. You can argue that in the comments all you want, but last I checked, I was the mythology buff here. So unless you are as well, you know, I look forward to seeing your ignorance on full display. And I'll pin it too, just in case. Wow, I'm a jerk in this video. Either way, this was part of Wave 2 of McFarlane Toys' Raw 10 line, which I have looked at in the past. Unfortunately, the only 2 I have are kind of tucked away. Cygor and Battlesnake, I think was the other one's name. It was the cool-looking Cobra. But those are the only 2 I've ever gotten. I never got the Velociraptor, and I never got the Shark. There's also a Rhino available named Hoof, which, for those of you who are fans of 90s, mid-90s McFarlane Toys, Hoof was a character from the Total Chaos days, so I might have to look into getting him at some point, because that's cool. That's cool homage, if I do say so myself. Though I will say, for 20 bucks, you're getting a bargain. And by the way, Tee Bizz did not pay that for this. He bought himself the blue one. This is the green version. I didn't know there were variants, but I guess there are. This was free. McFarlane Toys is clearing out their warehouse, so they sent one of these free of charge. So that's pretty cool. That's why I got one. And I'm not one to scoff at free stuff, so very much appreciative of that. So taking a closer look at the Terradon here, since he doesn't come with any actual accessories, though I think maybe a clear stand up here would have helped. Yeah, it's fine. I think you can get him to balance. It's just hard. Because he's got a lot of weight. But as far as articulation goes, he's got what appears to be some ball joints in the head and the neck, which is very nice. That's not what I expected. The wings appear to be on ball joints as well, so you can move them all around. The legs are on swivels, but unfortunately they suffer from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle syndrome and have a pre-posed walking stance about them. That makes him hard to stand. If anything, this back leg being up here would have made him so much easier to stand because he would have had more balance. Or just the legs in the same position in general. He would have had better balance. That said, if they were going to do this, I would have liked some ball joints in the feet. As it stands, though, I can get him to sit right, like so, and using the wings to balance. I will say the wings don't get the best range. You can't really put him in a flying pose, but you can put him in a cool kind of walking, crawling pose with his wings on the ground. I just would have liked a little teeny bit more, just maybe some ball joints in the feet. And then the tail has nothing at the base. I would have liked a ball joint there as well, but it does have a bendy wire. I'll move this out of the way here. It does have a bendy wire down here. I mean, this thing is freaking long. It's over a foot. But he does have a bendy wire in the tail, so you can bend the tail around if you want. it's a pretty decent bendy wire too. It doesn't feel like it's gonna break or mess up plastic or anything. So that's all fine and dandy, but gosh, those pre-posed legs and the one hip on mine's kinda loose-ish, kind of. Not the worst, but not the best. And then the fact that mine's leg was warped out of package did not help anything either. I'm still trying to straighten it out. I've already heated it up twice now, maybe 3 times the charm, but you know, who wants to do that, right? I'm the type of guy, I like my figures to be ready to rock out of package, but you know, it is a budget thing, this Raw 10 line, so I can give it some leeway, because if Hasbro made this, oh my god, this would have cost probably $50. But sitting him up as best as I can here, that's pretty much your lot for Terradon here. Good old Terradon. He's a good boy at heart, but he is a bit of a troublemaker when it comes to balancing and whatnot. Sometimes doesn't want to do it. But with that being said, I would say if you're a fan of like fantasy, like Masters of the Universe, Mythic Legions, this guy could totally work in that collection, those collections, whatever you want to call it. Or if you're into the Chat May figures, those Beast Raider Warriors of the Savage, I think is what they were called, which is, that's a heck of a name, isn't it? He would definitely work as a mount for one of those guys. But speaking of Mythic Legions, I'm going to bring these guys in one at a time because this thing is so freaking massive. Here he is with the Mythic Legions, Brother Mandibulas. And you can see, he's a big boy. He's not little by any means. But just imagine if you could stand him upright. Oh, man. That would look so cool. But alas, you're limited by those legs. The legs being pre-posed, I think, is my biggest gripe with this. That said, here is, of course, the infamous 11 Spawn. But, of course, he towers over Terradon here because Terradon is crouched. But realistically, Terradon would be a lot bigger than Spawn. So, yeah, we'll just get him out of here. But, yeah, man, cool figure. I dig him a lot. I think he's really, really sick looking. He's probably one of the cooler $20 figures out there, especially if you get one that's leg isn't warped like mine was. Again, I might have to heat that one last time to get it where I want, but it's a lot better than it was, I assure you. But, you know, not perfect. But, you know, if you go through life wanting everything to be perfect, you're never going to be happy. So, once again, shout out to Tee Bizz for hooking this thing up. I really do like it, despite my gripes. But before this video drags out any longer, and it already has, why don't we wrap things up? Some final thoughts. Overall, and before I say my piece, don't get it twisted. I absolutely love this figure. I think it looks awesome. It's super cool that the Todd father was able to give us a pretty cool looking wyvern. I'm going to keep calling it that because it's more reminiscent of a wyvern as opposed to a dragon for a relatively low price. Again, I think that was $20. However, it is a nightmare to pose, and while I know this isn't meant to be a fully articulated thing, it's just meant to be a cheap, cool monster toy, it wouldn't have cost him any more to make it a little bit more fun to handle. I think the articulation in the wings is great. I think maybe he could have used something in the tail and the feet other than just swivels and bendy wire. Those are nice too, but I think if the feet themselves had some ball joints and the tail had a ball joint in the base of it, this thing would be gangbusters. That said too, I think the legs being pre-posed is a massive detriment to this thing being fun to handle. As I mentioned before, I'm not a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pre-pose syndrome, or early 2000s McFarlane Toys pre-pose syndrome. Not because it limits posing, but because it's a pain in the arse to balance sometimes. So, while I do like this thing, it is not perfect. But for the price point, if you're willing to overlook those issues, then I would say go for it, because this thing is awesome. You're getting a heck of a deal for $20, maybe $25, I'm not too sure on that. And I don't know if you could still find this at Walmart, but I do believe the McFarlane toy store does have it and his Wavemate Hoof, which is a throwback to Total Chaos, as I mentioned before. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.